I'm Justin Boyd.
I'm mad at Tristan Jones, but I am Brittany Pacheco.
I am the aforementioned Tristan Jones.
And we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Dramatic pause there by Brittany. Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss Season 2, Episode 2 of The Last of Us. The episode's titled Through the Valley. And I just want to start off the top. Now, granted, if you've watched or listened to us over the years, you know we spoil stuff. And we're going to spoil this episode right away. So just brace. If you have not watched this episode, this is your last chance. Go watch the episode. Come back to us. But if not, we're spoiling it right now. And Brittany, I want to get your thoughts on first. We lost Pedro Pascal's character, R.I.P. to Joel Miller. He was killed in episode 2 of season 2 of The Last of Us. And Brittany, I want to get your thoughts. I got some of them via text message last night, but I want to hear you verbalize your thoughts on what happened to Pedro Pascal's character.
Fuck.
Wow.
That is literally all I have to say. I am so sorry. Y'all know me, y'all who've been here a long time. And even if you don't, welcome. This is who I am. I curse like a sailor. This is my visceral reaction to the fact that Joel motherfucking Miller is gone. Like, why? Why? And this is also why I'm mad at Tristan. I'm mad at Tristan because he is the one who hyped up this fucking show. And I'm thinking, Pedro Pascal, all season 1. Great actor, internet daddy. Like, everyone loves him. He's phenomenal in this show. 2 episodes for season 2. 2. Can y'all see this too? And he's dead. Like, what the F? And I'm sitting here watching this episode with my husband, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, what did we just watch? And I waited. I was hoping this was like a bad dream. I was hoping this wasn't real. Something. No. Credit rolls. And my husband's like, yeah, so I've been sitting on this information for like a year. And this is basically how game 1 ends.
Or is it how game 2 begins? Maybe
this is how game 2 begins. Yeah.
Okay. You understand my point, though. You understand my point. I'm like, so now I'm meant, and I'm going to get to y'all's comments in the live stream. I see y'all commenting. We appreciate Trisha, Marcy, who refuses to watch this episode, by the way. Shout out to you, girl, because damn. And King V. Johnson, thank y'all for being here. We're going to pop up some of y'all's comments here, too. I lost my train of thought. I'm supposed to be watching this show now without Pedro? Well, I am supposed to watch. No. Shh. Don't interrupt me. I'm supposed to watch this annoying ass motherfucking girl who is played very well by Bella Ramsey. Shout out to Bella and their acting chops. Fuck. I'm done.
So before we transition to Tristan and get his thoughts, I think this is the perfect way to get his thoughts. Is Marcy in the chat says, to be fair, Tristan warned us since last season that season 2 would be rough. Tristan, that's your cue. Take it away.
And rough it is. Well, first of all, season 2, episode 2, Through the Valley let's call it what it is. It's a special hour of television.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we could talk about what happened to Joel. That happened at the end, but like there's a whole 50-something minutes before.
Yeah.
Which is phenomenal television. I talked about it last week. You know, I was going to be hyper vigilant, hyper aware about like the differences between a game and the show. Mm-hmm. And this episode is, for the most part, a complete break from the game. Not necessarily in like plot line. Like we still, everything still leads to, you know, the eventual death of Joel at the end of, you know, this episode, but like the way they get there is a lot different. But like I said, once episode 1 ended, I knew what Joel's fate was going to be and when. I knew it would be episode 2. Mm-hmm. There was no other way, because essentially what the show sets you up for is the stuff we don't see in the game, which is Abby and the WLF crew making their way to Jackson, right? You see that journey, and once they're there, like it's just a matter of her getting in contact or getting close to Joel. And just like in the game, she slides down the hill, eventually just has to run. You have to, and the thing that makes it so brilliant, as an aside, is in the game, you play so many different characters. Like you, one minute you're Ellie, the next minute you're Abby, which allows you to like understand both of their feelings. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't necessarily see either one as a villain. Like you might see Abby as a villain while you're playing as Ellie because you're so immersed in Ellie's perspective. You might be able to justify and understand Abby's feelings, you know, because you play as her and you see a different side of her than what's shown, you know, initially in the game and in this case in the show. So for me, it's so interesting seeing how these things play out in both game and show and how they weave in, you know, the different adaptations of the story. But yeah, Abby meets up with Joel. Like Joel saves her life in this show, just like he does in the game. And, you know, essentially she leads them back and what happens. But everything that happens before that, like the mechanisms, like Jackson doesn't get invaded by infected in the game. Like that doesn't happen, you know? So like introducing like that, a new type of tension, like you're on edge essentially the entire episode because there's this feeling from Maria to Tommy to everybody in the town. It's like, okay, something's about to happen. There's just too many things happening. We have a one literal storm happening, and then we have a figurative storm, which turns into a literal storm happening as well at the same time. So this was a phenomenal hour of television visually, through, you know, performance wise, just the different direction, production choices that they made to tell a story. And then ultimately, like the adaptation of a story, a very controversial, iconic story from the game. And they masterfully played that out on the show. Like, even for me, somebody who knew was going to happen. I talked about this a lot in House of Dragon, knowing what's going to happen, but like seeing it play out in this different type of way, in a different, you know, in live action, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, this was a monumental episode of television. It really was a Game of Thrones level, like prime Game of Thrones level episode of television. And I'm going to and there are numerous reasons for that. I'm going to let Brittany explain that here in a second, because there are multiple ways that you can compare it to a Game of Thrones episode. Maybe it's like a Game of Thrones greatest hits mixed into one episode in some ways, and we'll talk about that in a second. But, you know, one of the things I've seen today, obviously Pedro Pascal, we've talked about this many times, beloved actor. He's in so many projects right now. As Trisha pointed out, he's going to be in Fantastic Four in just a few months. And I mean, I don't know, like everybody kind of likes, he's universally loved. And so when you kill that character, obviously people are going to get upset. And I just, to those people, and we're going to talk about some different, you know, points we can take from that. But like for those people, like this is what, like the show did its job, you know, like this is why we watch these shows. This is why we watch this stuff. This is why we talk about it. That's why we pod about it. Like for moments like this, for moments where, and spoilers for Game of Thrones, where Jon Snow gets killed at the end of season 5. Like that's just, like for me, I didn't read the books. And by the way, if you're a book reader, that's where you're left right now. That's where the story is paused. But for people that haven't read the book, you know, I was like, well, so he's dead, you know. Then, I mean, I that night that happened, I texted Brittany because I've been telling her for a long time, like, you really should watch this Game of Thrones. I think you would enjoy it. After that, I texted her. I said, I no longer can recommend Game of Thrones to you. And then I said, I hope that Jon Snow becomes a White Walker and kills everybody. That's literally what I said. And that's honestly, had he done that, might have been a better story. But no, I mean, that moment last night was, you know, it was a heartbreaking moment, heartbreaking episode. It was a gut punch for the audience. Literally, Ellie gets kicked in the gut while she's watching Joel die in front of her. It just was so well done.
That's how we all got kicked in the gut.
Yeah. Yes, so many levels. This was just an amazing just amazing episode, and this has been an amazing show. And you know, this is only like what the 11th episode so far of this great show. And the second episode of season 2, which I kind of had an idea he was going to die. I was surprised that he died so early. I thought, oh, he'll probably die penultimate episode, maybe the finale of season 2, but to kill him in the second episode, Tristan, what are your thoughts on that? Yeah, go ahead.
Joel dying this early, both in the game, and again, this happens within the first hour, first 45 minutes to an hour in game 2. But him dying this early in season 2 crystallizes that Last of Us is not about Ellie and Joel.
Yeah.
Right? Season 1 is about Ellie and Joel, but it's also about a whole bunch of things. It's about this expansive world that has been destroyed, and so much. So society is not the only thing that's been destroyed, right? Civilization, humanity in a lot of ways, like the way people see fellow man, right? The way people see the land, see nature, like everything has been destroyed. People's conception about, organization, family, and like all these things have been destroyed in so many different ways. So like this story is not about Ellie and Joel, right? I put it in the group chat last night, like really with Joel's death, now the real show begins, because this show is not about Ellie and Joel, but a lot of it is about Ellie, right? Mm-hmm. And so many different stories are being told through Ellie, right? Like her, the way she sees love, or crushes, sexuality, all these things are playing out. Ellie's about to change as a character, like in a dramatic way. And you can argue it's a really natural thing because she's just witnessed something so gruesome, so traumatizing that it changes her as a person, or it leads her to a place that she was kind of already going. Like you can kind of see it either way, but this is where the real show begins. Like this show is never really about two people and like the cute, kind of hero saves girl and they become like father and daughter and they live out this happy life. Like that's just not what this world is. Like everything is broken down. Systems have broken down. Civilization is broken down. Again, man's relationship with nature has completely deteriorated. Like it's going the other way. Nature is now up 3-1, like nature's whooping our ass in this point. And it seems like it's not reversible. Like there's no way to come back. So I thought it definitely took a lot of stones to keep the story consistent with the game. Mm-hmm. Because I hate to say it, by the time after Joel dies, you get so immersed in like Ellie's story and what happens after that I won't say that you forget that Joel, is dead, because it's a catalyst for Ellie's behavior and her motivations. But you're so wrapped up in like, man, I gotta fucking survive. I'm Ellie now.
Yeah.
I have to survive. I have to complete this mission. I have to make my way across country for reasons A, B, and C. Like there's so many different things that are happening and it mirrors real life, man. If everything's just kind of broken down, you start forgetting what, the rage and all these things, or what was the cause of the rage. And you just get immersed in the rage. And that's where Ellie is as a character. And this is where the story, I won't say maybe not this is where the story begins, but like this is where like the story starts to elevate. And I do think the Last of Us will be, as it's continuing to be, a much better show.
Yeah.
Now that Joel has died, and we all love Joel. I love Joel. Mm-hmm. I spent whole game 1 being Joel. Like I know Joel in an intimate way that a lot of people don't. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that's gone now. And now, what do you do now? What do we do as viewers? Mm-hmm. What does Ellie do as a, daughter adjacent to Joel? And like, what does the rest of the story do now that, this titular character is gone? Yeah. And I think the show is going to continue to elevate.
Yeah. Brittany, I want to ask you your thoughts on this, because I heard a lot of people today. First off, like Pedro Pascal, like, yes, Joel will no longer be a living character in The Last of Us. I feel like we're going to see him again in season 2 in flashbacks, because and there's got to be something. There's obviously we jumped 5 years from the end of from season 1 to the beginning of season 2. We're probably going to fill in some space there, and like I said, we'll probably see him a few more times. But one thing I've heard from a couple people, and I've seen a ton online of people saying like, "Well, now that Pedro Pascal's been killed off, I'm not watching the show anymore." So, Brittany, my question for you: do you think that the death of a beloved actor, character, it will hurt the viewership, or will it be impacted at all? Will people be more interested to see, like, okay, how are they going to resolve this? Like, is he going to come back somehow, or what do you think about that? Will it hurt viewership?
First and foremost, I did say last night,
Yeah,
at the end after watching this episode, which is a masterpiece, I will concede to that. I'll talk more about that momentarily. I did say I'm done with this show after witnessing what I witnessed. Because what the fuck? Everything Tristan said, while it may be valid, I wholeheartedly disagree. I am hurt that he said that the show is going to get better now that Joel is dead. How effing dare you? That being said, no, I mean, I say I'm not going to watch the show, but obviously I'm a completist. Like, I have to finish what I started, right? Whether that be immediately or 5 years down the road. No pun intended, by the way. But the fact of the matter is, I am invested in this show, and it's Tristan's fault. Yes, I'm going to be hating on Tristan all episode long. Get used to it. But I have a hard time dealing with the idea that now we're going to have to just focus on Ellie, and then her hopefully having to grow up because of everything that she just experienced firsthand. And I'm not looking forward to that per se, because I don't want to see two whiny girls go back and forth with each other, and then you not have like the person who can be reasonable yet violent to kind of step in and kind of just neutralize the situation. Like, I'm not expecting a happy ending, of course, because of the time that they live in. It's a post-apocalyptic. Obviously, a lot is happening with Jackson Hole, within its own boundaries, right? And we'll get to that also later. But I was like, how are you going to take one of the main characters of the show and then just murk him? Like, I don't understand that. But the funny thing about it, and I'm going to pick on Marcy too, who's in the chat, earlier Sunday morning, we were talking about what is it with these shows who are killing off their main characters. And little did we know that was going to happen for episode 2 of The Last of Us. So I'm kind of pissed. All right. I'm kind of pissed. Yeah. Will it hurt viewership? It could go 50-50. If there's some who like me or like, I'm done with the show, but then you're a completist, you're going to eventually watch it. And then there are those who are probably like Tristan, who have played the game and are like, okay, now we're going to get into the shit. Like, now it's going to start getting good. Now you're really in for like bigger, badder things. And it's just kind of like what he said. It's not going to make you necessarily forget about Joel's death, but it just elevates it that much more. So truth be told, it's hard to predict at this point, but the love for Pedro Pascal is incredibly real. And I feel like a lot of people are just going to stand by that and stay true to their convictions and just be like, no, he's not on the show anymore. I'm not going to watch it. And that actually might be true for one of the watchers here who's not here with us today. I shared a little bit with Frank, and he's just like, you're telling me Pedro's gone? He goes, fuck it, I'm not watching the show anymore. So,
man, we watched Pedro get his head cracked open and kept it moving.
But Pedro was not there from the start of Game of Thrones.
But
that's the real difference, because by the time he came on board, that was what, season 3? Season 4. Okay. You're like supporting my thought, is that we had a plethora of other characters, like Ned Stark. If you had said Ned Stark, and he gets murked in episode 9, what the fuck? Same thing with Khal Drogo. What the fuck? Like
Red Wedding.
But that was at the end. That was at the end of the season. That wasn't the beginning of a new season. Like that. I think that's what I'm more frustrated about. It's just, why do you dangle? Why? But it's great storytelling. I don't know if you want me to talk about the correlation between this episode and Game of Thrones, Justin.
Let me ask Tristan about the viewership question. Then I want you to talk about the Game of Thrones comparisons. Tristan, what do you think? Do you think losing Joel from the story, at least as a living character, you think that'll hurt the viewership of this show?
Absolutely not. Not even a little bit. Like I think this season's going to break records as far as viewership. This show's been talked about. Like at this point, I think if you are watching Last of Us and you have talked to, you at least know people who played the game, you have some type of inkling about what might have happened. Like it's so hard to avoid spoilers for the most part for a lot of people. I think a lot of people are better than others. But again, this show, we had one of the most famous episodes of this show is an episode where we see Joel and Ellie for like 10 minutes. You know, this show tells a larger story, even with its top characters, even with its most popular characters. It's still giving you a larger world building that allows you to see, man, there's so many other dangers and there's so many other like pressing things that are happening that you don't really have time to sit here and mourn one character because anybody could be gone. You know what I'm saying? Ellie could be gone. It's like there's so many things that are happening. Hell, we had 2 episodes. We had another episode last season that Joel wasn't even in. You know, like so.
Yeah.
We can tell these so many of these different stories, and like there's so many different things happening. Obviously I played the game, so I have a larger understanding of where the show can go. I don't necessarily know this season's going to end, but I do know from like just the trailers that kind of preview the rest of the season, not necessarily next week, but like the rest of the season, is that there's a ton of shit happening. Like again, Brittany, you won't forget about Joel, but you will become so enraptured in Ellie's story and where she goes from now that you'll think back like, okay, the biggest catalyst for these things is Joel dying, but I'm so wrapped up in where she is now. And then I have this inkling that, not even an inkling, I think the show is going to like bounce back and forth between Ellie, Abby, that you'll get so wrapped up in that, like that back and forth, plus the other shit that's happening around them. Again, The Last of Us is its own world, right? And Joel, as important as Joel is to Ellie, Joel is but a small speck in like the larger world building of The Last of Us in this post-apocalyptic world, and its new rules, new systems, new power. Like there's so many things happening that you can't forget about Joel, but you will forget about him being the center of this world. Like that will go away very quickly because you will become Ellie and you will become Abby, and their world, the things that they are doing, you just don't have time to worry about the shit. Like I can't, I'm trying not to like spoil, but like you just don't have time for that shit. Like I'm sorry, Joel, we love you. I promise we do. You know, my prince, sweet prince, we love you. But like there's just more important things happening.
I feel tempted to wager a bet with you. I feel tempted. I feel slightly tempted, but then I also feel like the possibility of getting burned in.
What's the bet?
I don't know. I don't have terms.
Yeah, but like, what are you betting about? Like about the viewership going down or up?
That that I will get so invested in Ellie's story that I'm gonna just like let go of Joel and all that other stuff. I feel like.
But you're already invested in Ellie's story.
Okay, to counter that, and then we can move on.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 episodes that really didn't have much of Joel, let alone Joel and Ellie. Well, no, that was just one. I absolutely love the story that was Frank and Bill. Okay, that was a wonderful story that obviously had nothing to do with Joel and Ellie, other than the very end with that letter and so on and so forth. Beautiful story. That was amazing. The Ellie-centric story about her background and the girl that she was invested in or she liked and what have you. like kind of couldn't really care less about that. And maybe because the fact that she was like a whiny, bratty, 13, 14-year-old, whatever, and what have you. Yes, you get the origin of her being bit and all that other stuff. Okay, cool, great, whatever. I don't care. But the Joel and Ellie stuff is just, it's just wonderful storytelling. And for her, knowing that she witnessed what she witnessed, she has no chance in hell at this point to reconcile with Joel over whatever's been happening in the last 5 years. Like, that's very hurtful. That's very like, it's just very traumatic. And that speaks to me on a more personal level, of course, but I can't like see myself getting so invested in Ellie that I'm just going to be like, Joel who, kind of situation. But I will say this, and then we can hopefully move forward. Abby, public enemy #1. That's all I'm saying. Fuck that bitch.
Yeah, I mean, now the show is a Ellie versus Abby kind of show. And I think the viewership will still be strong because we, as Americans, as the world, we love a revenge story. And now, Ellie's out for revenge. As Tony Stark said, like, we may not be able to save the world, but you better believe we'll avenge it. Well, now she couldn't save Joel, but she's going to avenge him. And I do think that Abby's fatal flaw was not killing Ellie and Dina when she had the chance, because I mean, they're both going to come after her, I would assume, very soon. I mean, Ellie for sure, but
let's not forget, and we'll talk about this as we get, as we go through the episode, but like, Abby's also on a revenge tour. So
no, exactly. I mean, that's why she went after Joel. I mean, like, she called her shot. She said she was going to kill him slowly. Now we see Ellie saying that I will, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill all of you that were in that room. And so I think she's going to make good on her promise. I'll just put it that way.
I talked to George earlier today, George, who has been on the Watchers with us, when I shared with him about the episode, and he goes, it took 5 years for that girl to find Joel. I go, yeah. He goes, she sucks. Fuck her. Like, why did it take you so long? I thought that was hilarious.
Well, also, she was 19, right? She joined a militia. Like, she kind of weaponized herself to, get up the courage and the people that could come with her and help her find this guy. So
it took Joel 20 years to find Tommy.
Well, he sucks too, but like, whatever. Like, we're gonna make it equal for everyone, but like, just
post-apocalyptic world. Post-apocalyptic world.
Yes.
But I was gonna say that with now Ellie on this revenge tour, it kind of it draws a lot of comparisons to Game of Thrones, because you're almost creating an Arya Stark like character. And of course, Bella Ramsey was on Game of Thrones, and Pedro Pascal was on Game of Thrones. And Brittany, this transitions right to how this episode really like compares to a Game of Thrones episode, or to me, like an amalgamation of several ones. Why don't you take that away?
Amalgamation is absolutely correct, because I actually just took the time while we're talking to pull up the different episodes that this one, The Last of Us episode, reminded me of. And as the town of Jackson is preparing for a possibility of the infected just ransacking their town, even though it's a compound, right? They've got walls, they have patrols, they've got pretty much things on lock. You still always got to be prepared, right? And the whole premise of this is that frozen infected were found, out in the hills or the mountains or what have you, but underneath them were live infected, right? So, of course, not knowing how many there could be, they're preparing the town, right? So when push comes to shove, and when they start seeing the horde of thousands, I would assume, approaching, they're on this wall, and they have like these big ass canisters of gasoline that they're going to launch from the top of the wall. And they've got fire going, they've got guns, I'm like, oh my God, this is like the episode of when Mance Rayder and the Wildlings attacked the wall, right? It was the Wildlings versus the Night's Watch. And that's season 4, episode 9, which we all know that penultimate episodes in Game of Thrones were just incredible. So that gave me that kind of sense, with obviously Tommy leading the charge and defending their home. But then also too with the infected obviously attacking these people, it gave me Hard Home vibes. Hard Home, which was another incredible episode. That was I believe another I think that was in episode 8, if I'm not mistaken. That was
season 5, episode 8.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Yeah, so it gave me that, vibe as well. And we know from the ending of this episode that a lot of the I won't say a lot, but one can assume people of Jackson got bit. They know their fate. It's not going to be a pretty one regardless. For me personally, when Abby is running away from the infected, because it's her fault that they woke up and popped up like daisies in the snow. And if y'all don't understand that reference, you need to go watch Disney's animated Mulan. Her running away, and she gets in between like the fence and the building, what have you, and then the fence starts like kind of caving in. That for me gave Battle of the Bastards vibes, where Jon Snow is being buried alive by all these bodies that are just like falling on him, one on top of the other. My anxiety like totally like just started elevating, and I like couldn't breathe. But this whole episode, the battles, and if you will, it was something out of the Game of Thrones world, just modern. I don't know how I could tie in like the flamethrower situation, but the bloater that broke through was in very much the episode of Battle of the Bastards, where like the giant was breaking through Winterfell, so that they can take down Ramsey and company, what have you. So it was I was like, this is crazy. Like, I know this is HBO, but it's like, did they get like writers and directors from Game of Thrones to help like make this happen? Because damn, what an episode.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, the guy who directed this episode directed Succession when Logan Roy, when he died.
Yeah, which is also a shocking death. Yeah.
Yeah, also early in the season.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, Hard Home, I was definitely going to say, because of the snow and just the non-human, horde attacking a village or a community. Obviously, there's Ned Stark vibes, and just like who you feel like is the main character going, even though that happened early on. It happened later on in that season. This is also really, really, really early on in the overall story, right? A Song of Ice and Fire, and it's the same parallel. We're like, man, how does the show go on? How does the story go on? It's like, oh, the story goes on. You're like, Ned Stark was not the story. Ned Stark was a catalyst to get your main character further through that story and to like motivate and push and become the tentacle that everybody's like attached to in some type of way. Like Tommy is, the rest of his story, so much of it will be, avenging and grappling with the death of Joel. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Ellie, Abby still kind of reckoning with what she did. Like so many people, Joel will be like the base for so many story arcs as we go through the rest of this season, and then next season to end it off. But yeah, like I think, I don't know if Neil Druckmann was motivated by Game of Thrones when he wrote the script for the game 2, knowing that eventually Joel was going to die. But I do think Craig Mazin and HBO can use Game of Thrones as a frame of reference for its audience. It's like, hey, you have been obsessed with a show, not even just you watch, but you've been obsessed with a show that killed off its quote unquote main character early on in the story. So like there is precedent for it. And I think we trust, obviously season 1 was excellent, A+ television. And season 2 has started off, as excellent television. Like there's a trust level there with like, okay, this is super prestige TV. And I know that the story is taking us somewhere different. And we trust the Game of Thrones with that. And I think that people will trust The Last of Us. And again, this is going to be a 3 season show. Like so.
At least.
Yeah, no, I think this is going to be a 3-season show. I don't know if it's been confirmed, but I do know Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin talked about like, hey, this might just be 3 seasons and that's it. Can it get to a season 4? Maybe. Yeah. I don't see it, but in my mind, this is a 3-season show. So Joel dying at this juncture is essentially like halfway through the show, and it becomes less shocking, the more you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense because I'd heard that it might be 4 or 5 seasons, but yeah, killing Joel in the second episode of season 2 is probably means it's probably going to be 3 and done. But Brittany brought up something a second ago, Tristan. I want to get your thoughts about the fence scene in the episode where Abby's running away from the infected. What is that like on the video game? And is that in the video game? That part where you're like, she's up against the wall, the chain link fence is being pressed against her. There's a horde of these people, these infected coming after her. What's that like in the game if it's in the game? Oh, you're on mute.
As it relates, I'm Brittany out here. As it relates to Abby and the infected, the only thing that's different is instead of Dina being there with Joel, it's Tommy. That's the only difference.
Okay.
It is, first of all, so you start the game as Ellie. You start game 2 as Ellie, and you go on everything that happens in season 1. Episode 1. I talked about the differences in that last week, so I won't kind of rehash that. But then you kind of morph into Abby. You're like, who the fuck is Abby? I have no idea who this girl is supposed to be. You don't find out her motivations for it. Like, again, I talked about it last week. You find out her motivations, as she's talking to Joel. It's like, oh shit, like, okay, Abby. But like before you turn into Abby, you start playing from her POV, and you're essentially on lookout. You don't even know you're on lookout. You don't even know what Abby's mission is. Like that's how warped the damn game is. Like, you don't know why she's there, right? Like, you know she's on lookout, and eventually she falls into like a horde of infected, and you running. That scene where the part where she's like crawling, in the fence, like it happens the same way, and she makes it through. It is, first of all, it's scary as shit. Let's just say that, like, it is really scary. It is anxiety inducing. Like, you are on edge, just like you are in this episode. But Joel saves her, kills the infected that's crawling, crawls on top of her, and him and Tommy get her into like this warehouse, and they find a way out. And instead of Dina, being there when Joel dies, when Ellie comes in, and eventually you go back as Ellie, you find the house, you crawl up, and you're there. Essentially, you watch Joel die. It is gut-wrenching playing that game. My wife wanted me to play it again because she just enjoyed watching me play. She watched me play the entirety of the game. Yeah. And she got addicted to just watching me play the game. And like, after I beat the game, like last summer, she was like, "Hey, you gonna play Last of Us again?" No. Like, I'm not playing that shit. That shit is hard. Like, I played like halfway through, and was like, I put it down. Like, I can't do this again. But so yeah, the only thing that's different is Tommy instead of Dina in the game.
Okay.
But yeah, it is crazy.
I should say, whenever Abby's trying to get away from the infected, and who comes to save her? It's Joel, which I thought when this happened, I was like, oh, what an interesting way to do this. Like, she's gonna fall in with Joel's crew, then somehow like he's gonna realize that, like, I don't really want to kill this person. I thought this was gonna be like a longer storyline. That's not how it plays out. But Brittany, what'd you think about whenever Abby meets Joel for the first time, and she learns his name because Dina says his name?
I mean, in the height of the moment, like, things were moving very fast. She had just been chased down by the infected. He caught up with her, told her to run. She's trying to catch her breath. Like, do you really have enough time to assess, albeit a good-looking 60-year-old, like, could you see that he had like the scar on the right temple? And all this other stuff. Yes, his name is Joel, but there are so many other Joels out there. But fine.
But she's so focused on him. Though.
Yeah,
that's
I
her
was very
sole...
focused on him too. Okay,
and she's militia trained.
Right.
Don't forget that.
Well, good for fucking her. Anyway, I kind of, in an ideal world, but this is a post-apocalyptic world, so people are going to just be savage regardless. I was hoping that she feel a little twinge of like, I don't know what to do at this point. Obviously, I'm hell-bent on avenging my father, who Joel shot in the head. Say that word for me. Mercifully,
yeah.
Thank you. And I get that. But then at the same time, he also took her without question to try and save her life. Right? I mean, one does not necessarily, one good deed does not clear the bad, or whatever that saying is. But I mean, for her, I was kind of hoping that maybe, okay, now I'm conflicted. Nope. Not one bit, not one fucking bit. She saw an opening and she went for it because Joel and Dina were like, Jackson's too far away. There's a blizzard out. We're not going to be able to make it. And then she's like, hey, my friends are up at the lodge up the mountain. Like, it's a lot faster to get out there. Like, let's go. She took her opportunity. I'll give her credit for that. She definitely took her opportunity. But like, damn.
I do think I should mention that the reason why Joel is out there with Dina is because, first off, this is the day after the episode 1, the day after the dance, the morning after the dance.
It's New Year's Day.
Yeah, there you go. I didn't even really put that together.
It's New Year fucking day.
Yeah, New Year's Day. Okay.
Welcome to 2029, people.
Joel, he wanted to go on patrol with Ellie, but she was still asleep. He didn't want to wake her. Wanted to let her sleep more, so he went with Dina, and then Ellie ends up going with Jesse, who's a great character. I mean, like, that's one thing about the show. Like, all the actors are just so great at what they do. It's like every character, even the ones that don't get a ton of like screen time, like, you feel like you kind of know the characters, which is like the opposite of some other shows we've talked about recently, where characters don't get screen time because they're just like almost not real characters. Like they're just people with names, like
bring back Catherine O'Hara.
But I feel like you feel like you kind of know who Dina and Jesse and these characters are, and we barely seen. I mean, it's only episode 2 of the season, but no, there's a lot of like great stuff before we get to the action where we learn about, well, first off, like, Seth apologizes to Ellie for what he said, the anti-gay slur that he said at the end of episode 1. And then we get the moment where, Jesse and Ellie are out there. They get stuck in the storm. So he knows a place. They go basically hide out in this convenience store. It's filled with weed. And he lets Ellie know that Eugene is the one who told him or showed him this location. Of course, we know Eugene is a character who Joel had to kill because he became infected. He was the husband of Catherine O'Hara's character Gail. There's just like a lot of like really good like character stuff that's like, it's not a lot of time spent, but it just feels like they put it together so well. Brittany, what'd you think about those little moments before we got to the big moments, which there's a ton of big moments in the episode, but just the small stuff in the beginning?
Looking back on it, hindsight, of course, everything is 2020. It's like, I should have picked up on the whole line when Ellie was telling Jesse, like, never mind, I'm not going to go on patrol with you. I'm just going to go on patrol with Joel. And he's like, oh, you guys are like better now. And she's like, listen, like, we have our shit. Okay. We have this whatever daddy daughter, situation, what have you. But like, at the end of the day, I'm me, he's him. Like, that's just what it is. Like, it works. And I should have picked up on that as being the tell of something bad is going to happen, because for her, after 5 years, wanting to like kind of reach out, even if it was just to get away from Jesse, for her to want to be around Joel as like a last resort, not even like Dina. Obviously, the awkwardness is there after that kiss, but like that should have like tipped me off that something was going to go sideways for one, if not both of them, right? They're going to get caught up in this blizzard. They're going to get caught up in some sort of attack. They're like something. But that was just incredible storytelling to set up like these little, not so much side stories, but just like these little tidbits of what they're thinking and how they're feeling and what have you. Even for Ellie to react the way that she did when Jesse said Eugene's name. Like she's just kind of busy doing her thing, and then she hears Eugene. She just like looks up, like shocked, like, oh shit, like I know who he is. Everyone knows what happened to him. And Jesse's just kind of like, yeah, it's a damn shame, but it's even more of a shame of how he went out, referring to whatever Joel did. And it sounded pretty brutal, if anything. Like I don't know if I doubt we're ever going to find out what happened exactly.
See, I think we will.
See, okay. I was just going to say,
yeah.
I was just going to say, unless we get like flashbacks or not visions, but like memories or something, if it's through the eyes of Ellie or even Dina, who had a relationship with Joel, then you're probably going to see those little side stories from the last 5 years that we, have been glossed over, obviously, or just not shown at all. So, I mean, the storytelling, and again, I keep forgetting that this is a fucking video game, that it's so much better writing than I could have ever imagined. And Daredevil Born Again, y'all need to pick up on these clues. God damn it. Like, good golly. Still upset about that. But anyway.
Daredevil should have been a video game first.
Probably. But, I mean, overall, it's just sad. I'm sad I didn't pick up on these things because I'm better.
I mean, the show, the game, I'll start with the game. The game makes so much use of time jumps, flashbacks, all these different things. But where the game and the show both excel at is using those flashbacks or just kind of using dialogue to like catch you up on things that it's not showing. Whereas, other shows like Justin talked about, might gloss over those things because you don't see them, and there's a big difference there. Like, I think Last of Us takes every measure to say, hey, every detail matters, even the ones that you don't see. Like, we're going to continue to hear Eugene's name until we actually see what happened, right? And because in the game, there's a more time to make you feel, the weight of these actions, right? Like you can drag these things out, and the show makes up for it in the best way that it can without having as much time. Like, I want to see what happened to Eugene. I don't even know if Eugene is central to this story, right? But like, I keep hearing about it. Obviously, whatever happened to Eugene, obviously we know he was killed by Joel. We can make the assumption, even though they're going through great lengths to tell us that he was infected without telling us that he was infected. But that's great storytelling, right? The show don't tell. All of us, I think if you polled 100 people and said, hey, what do you think happened to Eugene? Walk me through it. Like piece by piece. 95 would be like, hey, he was infected and Joel had to kill him. And then, the variance would be in like the way that Joel killed him, right? What happened before, after, yada, yada. But that's the brilliance of the show, is like, hey, all these things matter, right? Like not Joel, but Ellie and Jesse, the dialogue between them, just kind of like talking about what happened the night before, gives that entire scene at the party, at the town hall, whatever, more weight, because it's like, okay, this is something that happened. People talked about it that night, talked about it that morning. Like, this is something that causes Ellie, like it embarrasses her a little bit, but like all these things matter is the point I'm trying to make. And like, so I love that the show pays so much attention to details, and it wants you, the audience, to pay attention to all these details. They're talking about last week with like the snow and the snow's coming and all these things. Hey, there's been reports about infected, we don't know what's underneath the ice. So
wait. Winter is coming.
Winter is coming. Winter is here.
Sorry, I just had to do that.
Another correlation with Game of Thrones, like a Winter's situation for the show. Yeah.
And you had like whites and White Walkers come from underneath the snow in Game of Thrones as well too.
There you go.
But like they tell us that, and you spend so much of the episode, like every time they show the snow, waiting for something to come underneath.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that is what keeps you on edge because the dialogue is so strong. So, this is my favorite show.
Okay, I have a legitimate question. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you not done with your?
This is my favorite show, and that's the reason why. That's all I'm gonna say. Get to your question. I'm sorry.
I have a very serious question, and I'm probably jumping a little bit, but I won't talk about one part of it. It's kind of going back to something that Trisha put in the chat. Why did Abby and her gang not take the horses? Because we just finished talking about like how little things are like little details are important, this and that, what have you. You're up a damn mountain with snow. Okay. When everyone arrived, there would have been a total of 4 horses, yet they left with just 2. Where are the other 2?
I think it's just like I said, like, strategically, if I were a part of that group, like we've got to kill Ellie and Dina, right? But you could tell the rest of that group, they like, if it were up to Abby, they'd all be dead, right? The horses, they'd take the horses, kill the girls, move on.
But
right?
they didn't.
But because the rest of the group, except for Danny Ramirez, who's Manny character, who hopefully he catches a beating. And again, don't want to speak ill will of the new Falcon. Yeah, but like that guy kicking Ellie in the stomach while she's down. But yeah, I think it's because they're not completely cruel people. Obviously they know the situation with the weather, and that the one girl who gave Dina the shot to put her asleep, like she was like openly like, "Hey, Abby, this is not what we said. You're just supposed to kill Joel. And that's it. You're not going to kill anybody else." So let's let Tristan talk about that.
That's the reason. Like, no, that's literally the reason. Is in order for them to be there, Abby had to convince them that, hey, we're only here to do one thing.
Yeah,
and that's kill Joel. Like again, these are not inherently cruel people. They do cruel things. Where they come from influences a lot of the cruelty. The organization they come from. So like, and this is like this parallels the game. Like this matches the game. Like a lot of them don't want to do anything besides kill Joel. Like that is the mission. Of course, the Pendejo guy, like, he gets a little upset, like, and even in the game, like he's a little bit more bloodthirsty than the rest of the group outside of Abby. But outside of that, like they're essentially good people who I'm not going to use that. They are not inherently just evil people.
Yeah.
But they do have a mission that has kind of made them bloodthirsty for this one person and a lot of things that can come with it. So
I get it. I'm just saying, I'm asking when Jesse, Dina, and Ellie and Joel's body are leaving the lodge, there's only 2 horses that are going with them. Why didn't they take all 4 of them? Because the other crew didn't take any of the horses at all for whatever reasons. I'm just saying, what happened to the other horses? You can't leave them out there to freeze to death. Okay. Save the horses.
I don't know. I didn't have a very good accounting of the horses. I was focused on a lot of other.
Well,
other things.
Think about it. Yeah. Dina and Jesse, just kidding. And Dina and Joel with Abby right up to the lodge. 2 horses. Right. Okay. Jesse and Ellie, when they're on their search to find Joel, Ellie arrives first. So now we're at 3 horses, and then Jesse will eventually show up. That's 4 horses.
So
where are the other 2?
Maybe they take the horses. They take the horses to there. Jesse shows up, and was Ellie's horse in like a? No, I guess her.
It was there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, honestly. I'm just saying. Continuity, people. I will speak about it until the day I die.
That means they did take at least 1 horse, right?
No, the crew did not take any horses whatsoever. They were walking away in the snow.
Okay.
Dina and Jesse
that's right. You're right.
2 horses.
Yeah.
I don't know why this is such a huge problem in my book, but it is.
I mean, they could have gone back to the house and got the horses.
I suppose.
Yeah. I think priority number 1 is getting Joel's body.
They could have also like put his body on top of one of the horses instead of it dragging it. Like dragging it just made it more.
I made it more dramatic because
Yeah,
you're
but
like,
like
you're watching
you
them.
watch other westerns and like when there's like bounties being collected, what have you, they would throw the body on the horse, you know.
Yeah, but I
Whatever.
mean, there's like in westerns, they would have like the body like in a wagon if they would have had a wagon. That would have kind of been the way to do that.
I
I would
know, I
assume.
know. Anyway, sorry I got fixated about the horses. I just care.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But yeah, Danny Ramirez's character, that guy, for being such a likable actor in Top Gun Maverick and in Captain America: Brave New World, this guy
Yeah,
is
well,
turning a new leaf in this series, and
back to
not
Trisha's
a fan.
comment.
Yeah,
She said, I was like, New Falcon, you cannot be an Avenger
Yeah.
anymore.
Well, his time as an Avenger might be short-lived due to Doctor Doom. We'll see what happens.
Oh,
See what happens in Doomsday.
We'll see. We'll see his character again. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, and even Abby's group, it's very interesting. I mentioned there was the girl, I don't know her name. I'm not sure if they even said her name, but she's the one who's trying to, kind of, she's helpful. Then you have Owen, who's
Mel.
like, okay, Mel, yeah. And you have Owen, who's like the one who's telling Abby, like, hey, like, he's the one that tells the rest of the group, like, yeah, I do have a plan. Our plan is to get the hell out of here because, they're in awe of what Jackson Hole has established. It's this, this gated city. It's like fortress, basically. He's like, if anybody's going to die out here, it's going to be us. So my plan is to actually convince her to get the hell out of here. Of course, that's not what actually happens. But you have that character, and he is the one who's just telling Abby, like, finish it. Let's get out of here. And it seems like, yeah, it seems like the crew, like Tristan was saying, like these are not completely, savage people. They're just in a savage world. I'm interested to see how are they a, it's a 5-man group. Are they a tight unit, or are they going to start to fray apart given what has happened? And obviously, when will Ellie start chasing Abby, which I assume is going to be relatively soon. But let's get back to working through our way through the episode. I mean, I guess we can just get right down to it. Like,
Talk about the bloater.
Yeah, we go talk about the bloater. So yeah, while we've got the Joel and Ellie story happening over here, we have this brutal snowstorm happening. I mean, obviously in the same area, and then you have the infected attacking Jackson Hole, and the beginning of the episode, they're preparing. It's Tommy's like, getting the troops ready. They're preparing for a drill, but then it actually becomes the real deal, right away, and they're having to fight for their lives. And
I just thought about it.
go for it.
The bells. The bells were ringing.
Oh, there we go.
The bells.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, the bells. Where's Daenerys and her dragon? Sorry.
So, Tristan, by my math, this is the second bloater we've had in the show. We had one was it just one last season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Episode 5.
And I forgot, like, how does one become a bloater? Is it they're just like super infected or something? Or
funny you ask. So like each type of infected is kind of broken down into different categories, and really the way you categorize them is like how long they've been affected. So a bloater has been infected for about 20 years.
Oh, okay.
And so your stalkers are probably like around 5 years or so. They're not that old as far as infected goes. So yeah, you can, the older they are, the stronger they get. A lot of bloaters are around like chemicals and stuff like that. So like the bloater we see in season 1 was underground, and forced in with a bunch of other infected, and is like enclosed space with a lot of sewage and stuff like that, and it goes into it. Bloaters, oh my god, in the game, that'll make you not want to play again. And we haven't even seen the biggest bloaters. No, I'll shut up. It gets worse.
Yeah.
As I say, it gets worse.
And Brittany, speaking of the bloater, we have Tommy with a showdown with he has a
flamethrower
one-on-one with the bloater. Tommy kind of corners himself. I gotta say, I didn't think Tommy was gonna make it. When I watched it, I was like, oh man, like Joel's going to lose his brother. Little did I know that Joel was going to lose his life 20 minutes later. What'd you think about Tommy's showdown with the bloater?
I gave him points for being one of the only members left of the flamethrower crew to stick to his guns, literally, and try to take down as many infected as he could. I mean, by this point, the infected have breached the main street of Jackson, and you've got people on the roofs, including his wife. And when the bloater catches sight of her because she's shooting at him, Tommy does what any husband I think would do in that type of situation, and that was to put the focus back on him. And so he runs for the bloater to grab his attention, runs away, ends up in a cornered sort of backlot, if you will. There's no way out, and this bloater's coming. So Tommy, is going to crank up that fuel, but he goes through that fuel really, really quick, right? And he is making some sort of mark on the bloater, but as Tristan just explained, bloaters, this one's could have been like this for 20 years, if not more. And that's a lot of like crusties to go through. That's like a very thick layer of skin to go through, and you can see it's slowly charring, but it's not doing it fast enough. And yeah, it did seem like this bloater was going to take a swing at Tommy, and it was just going to be a battle to the end. But then the surprising turn of it was the bloater, as he approached, just collapsed. I mean, you see like half its face just completely burnt, charred, and eventually just lost its energy, lost its will to live, if you will. And Tommy was thankfully spared. Yeah, that was a little concerning. I think I was a little bit more concerned for the wife being on the roof once the infected breached the roofs and people are going down left and right. And she's like miraculously getting away unscathed to go and release the hounds, if you will. Like, yes, release the puppies. And, they come to save the day as well. They're trying to take down as many infected as they possibly can. But I was afraid that she was somehow going to end up dead, if not bitten. All right. And it's sad because they have this child that they're trying to protect, obviously. And I thought, if anything, she was going to be killed versus Tommy. But yeah, I was wrong on both fronts.
I thought Maria was actually going to be the one to come save Tommy. Like he was completely out of, gas. And that bloater, honestly, that bloater was close enough. Like if you play the game and a bloater gets that close to you, you're dead. Like there's no, there's not a lot of wiggle room.
Or as Justin likes to say, he gone.
You gone. Yeah. You are going. Like you're not juking a bloater. You know what I'm saying? Like they are surprisingly agile and intelligent. Like it's wild. So yeah, I definitely thought once Maria came down, I was like, okay, she's going to be the one to come save him at the end. But I'm glad both of them are still alive. One, I kind of want to go back to just Tommy as a whole. You really get to a sense of, again, the show does this great thing without really telling us, but showing you, like in this 5 years, in this time period that Tommy has been in Jackson, he has kind of done what he's always been. Like he's not just a soldier, but a leader. He's the one who galvanizes people. He's the one that people go for, look towards, when things are hard. He has the trust of the community and all that. Like, people rally behind Tommy, right? And this show, like, this is a development of his character from even season one. Like, this isn't the guy who was, kind of still looking for Joel's approval, kind of unsure. Like, he's the man there. Like, obviously Maria is also in charge, and like she has that equal, footing as a leader. But like Tommy was like, hey, this is my community and I'm willing to die here, to save people, to stop this threat, this existential threat. But just kind of seeing him take their role, like like Brittany said, like, other people are tucking tail and running, and he's like, hey, like this is my shit. Like I'm the captain of the ship. So I'm glad that was rewarded with him continuing to live. And it's again, this is completely show canon. So like I have no insight on what happens next with Tommy's character, what happens with Jackson, the community, with him and Maria. But it will be, I guess, interesting to see how he takes those leadership traits, the leader that he's becoming, and applies that to, dealing with Joel's death in some type of way.
Yeah, that's well said.
So Tristan, you made a comment about the intelligence of probably the bloater, but I'm just going to kind of take the intelligence comment as a whole regarding the infected, because the fact that they have evolved over the last few years, where it seems like they're strategizing more, right? We saw that in episode 1 with the infected that was kind of playing cat and mouse with Ellie, and now with the snow infected, if you will, who buried their dead, or they buried themselves underneath their dead and then popped up, when it was convenient. And the fact that we also witnessed during this attack that at some point the infected shifted direction when they, I guess, sensed the cordyceps that was in the pipes, right? There had been men who were working on those clay pipes that obviously there's been like debris and all that stuff and growth. And when it's shown that the cordyceps are very much alive within those pipes, it's like calling to the infected. Now, I didn't pick this up immediately. It was something John had actually pointed out to me, and he's like, oh, that makes sense. And I had to pause. I'm like, explain. And so it's just that because of what's inside Jackson Hole, that's what made it so important for the infected to get inside, because they're being called to it. And so we saw that shift of direction change a couple of times in this episode, which as Joel and Dina and Abby are trying to run away from them to get to the lodge, we saw that big turn back to Jackson. And then even from Jackson, they instead of going to the main gate, they were trying to go to like the side and kind of break point there. And they do, obviously, with the bloater. So I think it's interesting that over a period of time, the infected are also figuring things out as well.
Yes. This also happens in season 1. If you remember when Joel and Tess and Ellie get to the Fireflies, one of their compounds, one of their locations, where there's supposed to be a bunch of them, and they get there and they see, I think Joel steps on a cordyceps, whatever, and it's essentially like a network, right? Like all these, they communicate with each other. So when one dies, like it communicates and like same thing, it calls, and that's when we got the horde, and that's when we lost Tess. So that set us up for what we see in episode 2, and really we'll see at the end of episode 1. Like that is telling you, hey, the danger is, it's not even just it's coming, like it's already here, like, and it's kind of inevitable. There's a network, and what they should have done is burn. I don't know. I don't even know if this would have helped.
I said the same thing. I'm like, I want to be the Mad King and just burn them all. Like, where's the wildfire? Burn them all. Burn them all.
But yeah, it's so yeah, they are evolving in a large sense. Like I said, the stalkers, the bloaters are bigger, and I don't know if we'll see this in the actual show, but like there's ways for them, even like infected, to communicate with each other outside of like just the cordyceps in the ground and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It makes for it makes for a world where like around every corner is a threat, because we're not just dealing with like your regular infected who you just kind of stab in the head and just kind of keep it moving. Like in any particular scene in the game, you can have a regular infected, a stalker, and a bloater in the same area together. you know, like essentially kind of working with each other in a sense. It's just scary as hell, bro. Like it's fun. It's the best game I've ever played, but like that shit is not fun at the same time for that very reason.
Yeah, I thought with this episode, what was really brilliant was about how you've got so many things happening, and you've got. I thought that Jackson Hole was going to fall. Like once the infected breached the wall with the bloater, you're like, oh no. And then you think back like to Joel, who is his mind is on getting back to Jackson because for all he knows, that's where Ellie is, or that's where obviously that's his community, but he knows he can't get there because of the weather. So then he goes to the lodge with Dina and Abby, and that's when we get the turn where Abby is like, her group is there, and right away they've got a gun on Dina, they've got a gun on Joel, and we're getting to this part where it's just like, wow, like his mind, he's looking out the window and he's seeing his city potentially fall, and he's worried about Ellie, who, by the way, is his whole world, because he basically, someone said like, you could maybe save the world, but we have to kill her. Or and he goes, nah, like I'll choose her over the world. So like he's worried about his community, he's worried about her. And then in that moment, now we're worried about him because he's facing his demise right in front of us. And I thought that was like, again, such a good Game of Thrones. You're just like, wow, anybody could die right now. Like if you can kill this guy, like no one is safe in this world, obviously. And I just thought like the whole episode was masterful, but like the last 15, 20 minutes and the dialogue between Abby and Joel just kind of, he didn't really have a whole lot to say because she wasn't like not telling the truth, but it's like, I don't know. It's just such a crazy situation given what's all happened in this world. And Tristan, go ahead.
Can I touch on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to talk about this earlier, but I'd say I want us to kind of get through the episode.
Yeah.
The brilliance of it is that Joel's death is so logical. Mm-hmm. And that's why I didn't, while playing the game, the first time, like you see it happen, like it's gut wrenching, it's heartbreaking. But like the more you kind of like process it, it's like, this is just a natural circumstance of his natural circumstance. Like, so, okay. Joel killing everybody in the hospital. Wrong, right?
Yep.
In Joel's mind, I'm saving this girl who has become like family to me. Yep. I'm saving family. It's not even a hard decision. It's not even something like when he shoots the doctor, like there's no, should I do it? Should I not? Like there's no consternation. It's like, I have to get to point A.
Yep.
Or I have to get to point B. In order to do that, I have to get through point A. I'm getting through point A. Like there's nothing else to think about.
Whatever it takes. Yeah.
Whatever it takes. So as he's sitting there and Abby's kind of reading through his list of crimes, like you said, he didn't have much to say because in Joel's mind, Joel, who's been this survivalist, who has had to do all kind of unspeakable things in order to get to a point of like comfortable survival, like having a place to sleep, you know what I'm saying? Having food, like building himself up as like a smuggler, a hustler. He's had to do all these things. So he's long accepted that the consequences of those actions will catch up with him at some point.
Yeah.
But I do think in his mind, it's like, man, I at least want to have more time with Ellie. I want to see her grow up. I want to teach her more things. I want to hear her play the fucking guitar and shit, fix her strings. Because in Joel's mind, I feel like every moment feels like it could be the last. Yeah. He's seen so many existential threats over the course of 25 years at this point that for him, I don't know if there's ever a moment of comfort. You know, even when he's sitting there, nice house in this, one of the last, vestibles of like civilization probably left in the world. I don't think at any moment like there's a level of like content, right? So as again, Abby's sitting there going through his list of crimes, and it's just like okay, this is about to end. Kind of like my watch has ended. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's about to end. And like the only fight he really tries to put up is when Ellie's on the ground and she's like, Joel, get up. Joel, fucking get up. Yeah. And he tries, like he can't move an inch, but like he tries with like the last vestiges of like his strength to like get up, and he can't do it. And it's just there's an acceptance there, not because like, okay, this horrible thing is happening, is because I've done horrible things and I've always known that this will come back to bite me in some type of way. I've tried to convince myself, Gail, Ellie, Dina, all these people, that I'm a good man. And maybe in his heart he is, but like, it's like there's this good man in the middle surrounded by like all this horrible shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
On top of like 25 plus years of trauma. So like all these, like at some point, like he kind of settles into the idea like, hey, this is it for me. The only thing I care about is keeping Ellie safe, and making sure that she continues to move on, because that overall became his mission. Once his actual daughter died, once he, got through the trauma of that and had something to live for, which was Ellie. Like all of this is logical. Abby, you killed my father. I've trained and done all these things to get to this point where I can avenge that. This is a logical dealing between these two. And that's the brilliance of it, because with this game and with this story and with the show, you should be able to see so many perspectives, right? Right or wrong is going to get tested so long, especially as we go throughout the rest of the season and beyond. Like your concept of right or wrong, who's right, who's wrong, who's a protagonist, who's an antagonist, is all based on perspective. And I think what the brilliance of the show is, it does a great job, even especially in the game, of like giving you enough backstory to say, okay, this person might do some evil shit and they might be evil in a lot of ways, but like I can understand where they came from and how they got to this point. And from whatever happens after that, you can kind of determine or decipher how you feel about it. But like it doesn't come from nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everyone's motivation makes sense. It's just, they're in this crazy world where they're trying to survive however they can. And now obviously Ellie has this extra motivation now to continue on to get revenge on, for what Abby did. Brittany, what did you think about the final scenes of Joel where, Abby, she's waited for this moment for 5 years and she finally has it. And she's telling him like, you shot the 18 soldiers and one doctor, and that unarmed doctor, you shot him in the head. And the nurse said you barely even looked at him. And you just like, you just left him there. And, she's going on and on. And Joel's just like, just shut the fuck up and do it already. Just kill me. And she's like, no, she's like, you're not going to rush this. You don't get to call the shots here. She takes out a golf club, and that, I mean,
no. Before that, she blasts the shit out of his knee.
Right. She shoots him in the knee, which, I mean,
woo,
tremendous. He's in tremendous pain. But then she just, goes.
She's
just
relishing this moment, because she did say to Owen, we're gonna say that's his name.
Yeah, that's his name.
That she, when they caught up to him, had him, and kill him, she wanted to do it slowly. And damn, did she mean it? Because I was like, get with it, girl. Like, if you're going to do this, shut up and do it. Now, I didn't want it to happen, but, put your money where your mouth is. And yes, she obviously wanted him to know how she was connected to this doctor. She is the doctor's daughter. She was only 19 at the time. So now she's 24. And has been dreaming of this moment. She literally has been dreaming of her finding her dad in Salt Lake City in that hospital, right? And I liked how that storytelling was of current. I was just going to totally change her name. What is her name? Abby. I was getting her actual name like confused with everything. That current Abby is warning Dream Abby, like, turn around, like I'm gonna tell you exactly what you're gonna find, and you're not gonna like it, So it goes to show that she's obviously been having this dream like over and over and over, like obviously. But for her to take the time that she did with Joel, blast the shit out of his knee, and then have Mel put a tourniquet on it, obviously, and just keep on going, goes and gets the golf club to like really relish it. And that's when Joel's like, just shut the fuck up and like get on with it, right? Like, he knows what's about to happen, but she's like, no, you don't get to call the shots on this. Like, and then she starts wailing on his knee, and thankfully you don't see any of these scenes. I'm talking to Marcy specifically. If you're still watching us right now, you don't see anything, but you certainly hear the cries, the screams, and oh God, I was in pain listening to it, of course. Then you eventually see Ellie make her way to the lodge, making her way up the stairs to the screaming and what have you. And when she does open the door, she makes to shoot, whoever's in there, but Danny Ramirez's character goes and gets her, knocks her down, and she's being restrained on the floor. And then she really sees Joel. She really sees Joel on his belly, bloodied up face, and Abby is just wailing on his face with her own fist, bloodied up fist. And then Owen pleads to Abby, finish this, like, let this be done. And then she picks up the now broken golf club, which one would assume belonged to her father, right? These golf clubs, right?
I think they're just at the lodge. I don't think they're anybody's.
Well, I kind of interpreted that maybe she was just carrying around these golf clubs because they belong to her dad.
Maybe,
and that's,
maybe, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's up for interpretation. Maybe it doesn't really matter. But the broken club, now it's just the rod, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Abby picks it up, and Ellie is pleading with her, as well as saying to Joe, "Get up, get up, get up." But she's pleading with Abby, no, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And then Abby goes and stabs Joel in the neck with that golf club, what's left of it. And it's over. And it was at that point, I'm like, I'm sorry, what did I just witness? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, no. Danny Ramirez's character kicks Ellie, what have you. They're all leaving. He makes the line to Joel's dead body, says, stupid pendejo, or whatever, fucking pendejo, whatever you said. Everyone leaves. Ellie's now crawling to Joel, puts her hand on his hand, puts her face up against his. Then you see this incredible aerial shot of just the landscape of that room, the two of them lying there together, and then you slowly start seeing a pool of blood just make its way out of Joel's body. And it's like gut-wrenching. Like, it is so fucking gut-wrenching. And I'm like, I'm done with the show. I'm done with the show. And I already had that message crafted, ready to go, Tristan, in our group chat. I was just waiting for the credits to roll to like then send it. And as soon as it happened, send and scene.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I thought he was going to die at some point this season, but it just, as a show watcher, to see what was happening, you're thinking before Abby stabs Joel in the neck, you're thinking, how are they going to get out of this? How are they going to find a way? Is Jesse going to come in guns ablazing, or like, who knows? Like, what's going to happen? And the truth is, they don't find a way. Joel dies, and it is a brutal scene. And Tristan, I want to get your thoughts on just seeing Bella Ramsey plead with Abby, don't do this, please don't do this. And then after that, seeing Joel dead there, and then her, like Brittany said, putting her face on his face. Really strong stuff. Really strong stuff.
And the promise to Abby, I'm gonna fucking kill you. I'm gonna kill all of you.
Yeah, I believe that promise. I do.
I was like, all right, Liana Mormont, like, all right, I see you.
Ellie, in witnessing Joel in the the crying, there's a interesting like inflection point in that scene, because she goes from like the crying, like she's crying at the top of her lungs, like and then she just kind of shifts to, I'm gonna fucking kill all of it. Like, that is an important shift, because I think that's where her character will begin to shift going forward. And I look at that as like really like some of the last portions of Ellie's like innocence. You're like all of that is gone, or so much of it is gone. And I think going forward will be like trying to see if she can get it back, to what extent, because as much as we talk about Ellie being Joel's world, the same is true on the opposite way. Like Joel is Ellie's world.
Yeah.
He's the person where she like kind of measures, her relationships and interactions with other people, right? Either like this reminds me of Joel, or this is the complete opposite, and I like it or love it because of that. And I think it's a masterful performance by all. I want to kind of take this time to like shout out everybody in this episode, but particularly Bella Ramsey, Pedro Pascal, Kaitlyn Dever. Like it is really hard to remake a iconic scene, and I think they did it. I think they did it in a unique way, in a way that is authentic to them as like individual actors and characters. It's just a brilliant scene. But like we see the last whatever Ellie you saw in season 1, she's gone. Like, and seeing that, like it I think Ellie so far in season 2 at this time of her life is really without mission. She's kind of like looking for things. She's looking for danger, looking to antagonize in a lot of ways. And unfortunately, Joel's death and her witnessing Joel's death and knowing who did it, or eventually she'll know who did it, is going to provide her with like this new mission that she would not have had otherwise. Otherwise, she probably would have just kind of floated aimlessly. Will she or will she not with Dina? Just been a patrol person. But like this gives her like this newfound mission, and it will change her, and it will change like the outlook of the entire story going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. As you touched on, Tristan, talk about all the acting in the chat here. Marcy has a comment about how she said, "I just read that Kaitlyn Dever shot the death scene with Joel 3 days after her mom's funeral." So, wow, what a heavy week that was for Kaitlyn Dever. Yeah, she was great in this episode. Obviously, we're gonna get much more of her, I expect, in the future, the rest of this season. So, looking forward to that. I did want to point out that at the end of the episode, as Ellie and Dina and Jesse ride away with Joel's body, we get a song. The song is "Through the Valley," which is the title of the episode. By the way, the first episode was also named after a song, Future Days. But we get this song "Through the Valley," which it's being performed by Ashley Johnson, who voiced Ellie in the video game and played Ellie's mom in the show. So this show just doesn't miss all the details. They connect the dots. It's a masterful show. It's a very, very, very well made show. So
if this episode does not win awards across board, acting, storytelling, visual effects, I will be very displeased.
Want to hear something?
Go for it.
If I'm just kind of gaming it out from just what I, from the game, and just kind of looking at like what could be an episode, this might not even be the best episode of the season. That's all I'll say.
Setting the bar.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, we have 5 more to go in season 2. Let's get our final thoughts on this episode. I know we talked about it a ton, but final thoughts on this episode.
It is not an episode I will ever rewatch. It's painful. Okay, it was painful. Fucking painful. However, I do recommend people watching it so that we all are on the same page. Come feel my pain, right? If I have to experience it, you get to experience it too. Aside from that, storytelling, incredible. The actions, incredible. The fact too, in case you all don't watch the making of The Last of Us after every episode that airs, they actually shot this whole episode in a true winter storm. A true blizzard was actually cutting through the location that they film at. And I don't know if it's actually in Wyoming or if it's Canada or whatever. But
I think it was in Vancouver.
In Vancouver.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But these actors are absolutely just putting themselves on the line and delivering a performance of a lifetime, honestly. And I applaud them for it. I fucking hate the creators for doing what they did, but okay. Tristan hyped up the show. He has not steered us astray.
Yeah, it's delivered.
Even though, huh?
It's delivered. The show is delivered.
It's delivered. I said I'm done with the show. I will let you all know next week if I truly am done with this show.
You'll be
or
back.
not.
You are not done with the show.
I am not jumping on the Ellie bandwagon. You can quote me, okay? I am not jumping on the Ellie bandwagon. I did say it though, is Abby is public enemy number 1. Yeah, that's overall thoughts. It was a brilliant episode. It was painful. It made you feel things. And yeah, that was quite the episode. And that's just episode 2. So Tristan, he says that might not even be the best episode of the season. So we shall see. Tristan, I'm gonna toss it to you.
First of all, like, Ellie's not somebody that you're gonna root for. let's be real here. I think we're past the point in this show where there's not going to be a lot of characters where you're like, okay, this is protagonist. I'm rooting for this person. Like, everybody's conflicted, because of the trauma that everybody's dealing with, and just the ongoing trauma of post-apocalyptic world, and where we have to watch out for infected and humans equally at all times. This is absolutely, for me, an episode that I'm about to rewatch this shit after dinner. Like, I can't wait. But my final thoughts on this is, it's rare that you get a penultimate episode in episode 2. And this is what this felt like, right? Like, essentially we got a battle. We got a death of a main character. We have a fundamental shift in another main character's story arc going forward, and we can see like the origins of that shift. This was a phenomenal episode. I said that at the top of this episode, this podcast. This only gets me more excited for the rest of the season, because knowing a lot of the elements, I don't know how a lot of these elements are going to be put together, but like, everything that happened in this episode will lead us forward in pretty jarring ways, in my opinion. Like, there's some shit that happens in game 2 that is just like, I can't believe you put this shit on like in a game. Like, I just can't believe what I'm watching. So I anticipate that happening, and I think this episode is the catalyst for the rest of the story, just period. Phenomenal. Like I said, I think season 4, episode 2 of Game of Thrones. You want to remember what happened in season 4, episode 2 of Game of Thrones?
Was the introduction of
Joffrey
dies. Right?
Oh,
like,
there you go. Yeah.
But like,
still not satisfactory. Still not satisfactory. Nope. As many times as I rewatched it, not good enough.
Oh, damn.
You didn't see it coming though. Like, I didn't see it coming. Like,
this is fair,
yeah.
But still knowing what happened, like the Red Wedding lives up. Yeah. Joffrey, absolutely not.
That absolutely lives up to me. I don't. Again, I was not a book reader when that happened, so that was a shock. Like, it happening when it happened, because again, we had seen Ned Stark die. We had seen a Red Wedding. We had not seen a character of that magnitude die that early in the season. So, that's what we got last night. Man, the rest of the season I think is going to be phenomenal, but it's going to be hard to top that episode. Outside of Joel's death, it was just a phenomenal illustration of the world building of The Last of Us, and how a lot of the systems and a lot of these functions can be torn down so quickly by like one horde of infected. It just raises the stakes to me. So 10 out of 10 episode, in my opinion. And you can't say that about a lot of episodes, but I feel like that should be the consensus.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I'm just so impressed with like how HBO continues to do this. Like, and obviously you're taking a hit video game and making it to a hit TV series. Like, it's just what they're able to do with that Sunday night spot, just churn out just excellent episode after episode, season after season. And I've never been a zombie guy. Like I've never watched a second of The Walking Dead. I couldn't name a character. Don't know. I know it's very popular. Not interested. But this show, something about this show, just like um, it's just so well crafted, and it just works so well that I really enjoyed the show. And losing Joel was obviously a blow for everybody. But as Tristan was saying, like the story's changing, and now we're getting to the next, the next level of what The Last of Us is. And I can't wait to continue this journey as we're talking about the best show on TV week after week. So that's what we think about episode 2, season 2, episode 2 of The Last of Us. We want to know what you thought about the episode. And Brittany, how can people let us know?
Well, I want to give a shout out to those who joined today's live stream. Yesenia, who says she's rewatching season 1 again. This was tough for her. I'm with you, girl. Shout out to Yesenia, Marcy, Trisha, Mel, Geeking Out Melly Mel. She joined us earlier today. Appreciate you being here. Also, King B. Johnson and Moves, and I believe that's everyone. If I missed you, I apologize, but we do appreciate all of those who took the time to join today's live stream. If you're watching our replay, leave us a comment below on your thoughts of The Last of Us this episode, and take the time to subscribe to our podcast. At present time, we are at 445 subscribers. We've bumped it up, people. Let's keep that momentum going. Invite all your infected friends, family members, whatever, just like let them know about the Watchers in the Basement. Be sure to hit the like button as well for this video. It helps us out greatly. And hit that notification bell that we, the next time we talk about The Last of Us. But we also are talking about The Handmaid's Tale. That's coming at you later this week. Join us. And I say us, Amber and I. We will be talking about episodes 4 and 5. We're also going to be talking about lots of other things that I can't think of off the top of my head, but I'm trying to wrap this up. So bear with me. Yeah. Follow us on our social media. All the links are in the description box down below, as well as our audio podcasts available to you on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Give us a follow and give us a 5-star rating.
Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate it. So for Brittany and for Tristan, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.